You've lost your damn mind, Sarah. You just stole my Ferrari. Edward Anderson's voice cut through the chaos of St. Catherine's ER like thunder cracking marble. He stormed through the sliding doors, salt and pepper hair slicked back, jaw clenched, custom suit immaculate. Except now. His composure was shattered. In its place burned fury, control, and something colder. Entitlement. Sarah Clinton stood frozen near the triage desk, wrists shackled, breath still ragged from the drive that might have saved a life, but had already cost her freedom. Her blue apron was stained with Lily's vomit, her arms trembling. Her eyes, bloodshot from tears and adrenaline, stayed locked on the double doors leading to the trauma room. Edward didn't notice her gaze. He didn't ask how his daughter was doing. His eyes, wild and sharp, were fixed solely on her. "My car," he shouted, slamming his palm against the reception counter. "Do you have any idea what you've done to it?" Sarah's voice barely rose above a whisper. "You destroyed the rear quarter panel. You blew the suspension. The carbon fiber splitter is shattered." His voice climbed higher. "Do you know what that costs?" Sarah swallowed hard. She wasn't breathing, sir. There wasn't time. "You had other options," he barked, stepping closer. "Call security. Wait for the paramedics. But no, you had to take my Ferrari as if it was yours to touch." "I called 911, Sarah said softly, her voice trembling but steady. "They said 14 minutes. She wasn't going to make it that long. That's not your call to make." Edward's fingers stabbed the air in front of her. "You are a cook, Sarah. You're not a doctor. You're not a mother. You're not family." The corridor fell into tense silence. A nurse behind the desk set down her pen. The officer beside Sarah shifted uncomfortably. Sarah's voice wavered, but didn't break. "She's 6 years old, and she couldn't breathe." Edward scoffed. "What the hell do you know about responsibility? You just totaled a custom-engineered hypercar. Because what? Your emotions took over." "Sir," a calm voice cut in from behind. An ER physician, clipboard in hand, his scrubs smudged faintly with blood. Edward ignored him. "She'll be in surgery for days." "And for what?" "I should press charges tonight." The doctor cleared his throat, firmer now. "Mr. Anderson, your daughter's alive because of this woman." Edward finally turned toward him, as if noticing the doctor for the first time. "If she had arrived 2 or 3 minutes later," the doctor said evenly, "your daughter likely would have suffered permanent brain damage. Or worse." The silence that followed was heavy. No gasps, no drama. "Just wait." Edward stared at the doctor, then back at Sarah, but the fire in his face didn't cool. "She destroyed my car," he said flatly. "That was the only one of its kind on the East Coast." Sarah's voice was quiet, but it carried. "And that little girl you're yelling about? She's the only one of her kind in the world, too." Edward said nothing, his lips pressed into a tight line. Without another word, he turned and disappeared behind the trauma doors where Lily lay. The officer behind Sarah finally exhaled. "We'll need your statement soon, ma'am." Sarah nodded, not to him, but toward the door, toward Lily. Her shoulders sagged. Her knees trembled. Not from guilt, not from fear, from relief. Lily was alive. That's what mattered, even if no one else saw it yet. But what really happened? Let's find out. 3 days earlier. The Anderson estate was the kind of house where even laughter echoed like sin. Morning light filtered through 2-story windows, casting golden streaks across polished marble floors and crystal chandeliers that hung like frozen tears. It was a cathedral of wealth. Too clean, too perfect, too hollow. Sarah Clinton moved through the main hallway like a shadow, carrying a basket of freshly laundered linens, each piece folded with quiet precision. She had learned the unspoken rules of survival here. Be present but invisible, efficient but not emotional, valuable but never vocal. Her sneakers made no sound on the Persian rugs. Her hands were practiced in silence. That was the rule of this house. "Sarah?" A high, sweet voice called from upstairs. Lily's voice, bright as a bell cutting through the cold. "Where's my pink bunny dress?" Sarah smiled despite herself. "Coming right up, Miss Sunshine." Lily Anderson was the only soul in this mansion who saw Sarah as more than background noise. At 6 years old, she had the open heart of a child untouched by the filters of wealth and power. When Sarah braided her hair, Lily asked her to sing. When Sarah cleaned her room, Lily followed her like a shadow, chattering about fairies and fireflies. It wasn't supposed to be that way. Staff weren't encouraged to form attachments. But some bonds grow in the silence between bedtime stories and emergency asthma attacks, between two lives that have both known sudden, shattering loss. Lily had lost her mother to complications during childbirth, a tragedy no one in the house spoke of. Sarah had lost hers to a preventable heart attack in a public hospital waiting room, where no one came fast enough. Both losses had occurred in silence, unspoken, unhealed. That morning, Sarah had arrived earlier than usual. Something in her gut told her to. Call it instinct. Or maybe it was the way Lily had looked the night before, paler than usual, slower to smile. Her energy dimmed like a candle struggling against the wind. No one else had noticed. Not the rotating nannies, not the estate staff, not Edward Anderson, who moved through his own home like a man with no time for children or grief, only conference calls and quarterly reports. But Sarah noticed. She always noticed. That morning, Sarah had brought Lily's breakfast tray upstairs just after dawn. Organic oatmeal, sliced strawberries, half a grapefruit. No sugar, per Edward's dietary instructions. Sarah had added a single slice of cinnamon toast with butter anyway. It wasn't on the plan, but it was Lily's favorite, a small rebellion wrapped in kindness. She knocked softly. "Lily, breakfast." No answer. Sarah pushed the door open. The curtains were still drawn, the air thick and still. Lily lay curled on the edge of her bed, arms wrapped around her pink bunny dress like a lifeline. Her skin looked gray, her lips pale. "Lily?" Sarah's voice sharpened. She set the tray down and crossed the room in 3 strides. The child's forehead was burning. "You are okay, baby," Sarah whispered, scooping her into her arms. She carried her into the bathroom, wet a cloth, dabbed her face. Lily shivered, then groaned. Her body went rigid. Then her eyes rolled back. "Lily!" Sarah's voice cracked. "Lily, baby, stay with me." She laid the girl on the cool tiles, tilted her head, checked her airway. Nothing. No breath. No movement. Panic struck like lightning. Sarah ran to the hallway intercom. Pressed it. Nothing. The panel was dead. Maintenance had been working on the system all week. She grabbed her phone from her apron pocket. Battery dead. She ran back to the landline in Lily's room, fingers shaking as she dialed 911. Emergency services. What's your location? Anderson State, West Haven. A child, she's not breathing. She collapsed. Ma'am, all units are 10 to 14 minutes out. Stay on the line. 14 minutes. Sarah looked down at Lily. Her chest barely moved. Her lips were turning blue. 14 minutes was too long. Sarah thought fast. The staff SUV. Keys locked in the guard booth. No time to search. Then she remembered. The garage. The Ferrari. She ran. Down the marble staircase, through the corridor, past the portraits of men who'd never known urgency. The garage door opened with her ID swipe. And there it sat, low, red, gleaming like a weapon. The key fob glinted beneath a glass case. Sarah grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and swung. The glass exploded. She snatched the key, ran back upstairs, wrapped Lily in a blanket, and carried her limp body to the car. She secured the child in the passenger seat, her tiny head lolling to the side. "Hold on, baby," Sarah whispered, voice breaking. "Don't you dare leave me." The engine roared to life. She didn't drive like a thief. She drove like a mother. The Ferrari tore through the iron gate's tires, screaming against asphalt. Traffic blurred. Red lights became suggestions. Horns blared. Somewhere behind her, sirens wailed. She didn't stop. She couldn't. Not until Lily was safe. The hospital sign appeared ahead, white and blue, a beacon through her tears. Sarah slammed the brakes, skidding into the ER bay. She threw open the door, pulled Lily into her arms, and ran. "Help," she screamed. "She's not breathing. Help, help, help." The ER doors slid open, and the world exploded into chaos. The interrogation room walls were bare and off-white, the kind of color meant to feel neutral, but instead felt lifeless. The fluorescent light above buzzed faintly. Sarah sat alone at the metal table, wrists uncuffed now, but still sore. She hadn't spoken much since arriving. Her mind circled one question. Was Lily still alive? The door opened. Detective Vanessa Hargrave stepped in, late 50s, steady eyes, gray-streaked hair pulled into a short bob. She sat down across from Sarah and studied her for a long moment. "Tell me exactly what happened." Sarah told her everything. The breakfast tray, the collapse, the dead intercom, the 911 call, the Ferrari. Her voice wavered, but never broke. When she finished, Vanessa closed her file slowly. "Here's what I think," she said. "You broke the law, but you also saved a life." Sarah looked up. "Am I being charged?" "That depends on Mr. Ender." "Son." Vanessa paused. "But I want you to know the girl is alive. She's stable." Relief crashed over Sarah like a wave. Her hands covered her mouth. Tears brimmed. "Thank you," she whispered. 2 days later, everything changed. Footage of Edward's tantrum at the hospital leaked online. The video went viral within hours. Headlines exploded across every news site. Black maid saves child. Billionaire rages over car. Public outrage was swift and merciless. Edward's empire trembled under scrutiny. Investors called emergency meetings. His board demanded answers. It was Gwen Fletcher, his longtime lawyer and friend, who finally broke through his pride. "You can buy cars, Edward," she said coldly. "You can't buy compassion." Her words landed like a verdict. 3 weeks later, Edward stood outside Sarah's modest apartment, hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched. When she opened the door, he didn't offer excuses. He offered truth. "I thought I was teaching the world discipline," he said quietly. "You reminded me it needed heart." Sarah said nothing at first. Then softly, "She's your daughter, Mr. Anderson. I was just trying to keep her alive." "No," he said, "and I'm sorry." 6 months later, the Clinton Foundation for Domestic Workers' Rights was unveiled, funded entirely by Edward, named in honor of Sarah's mother, Gloria. On the day of inauguration, Sarah stood in the jasmine courtyard of the Anderson estate, pen in hand, writing in her mother's old notebook. Justice doesn't always wear a robe. Sometimes it wears an apron. Lily ran toward her laughing. The sound of life reclaimed. In the distance, Edward watched. No longer a man above others, but one among them. The world called Sarah a hero. But to her, she was just someone who refused to watch a child die, waiting for permission. Justice blooms where compassion dares to act. She broke the rules and changed a life. Stories like this remind us that kindness can change lives. If you believe in the power of humanity, kindly subscribe and stay with us for more heart-touching stories every week. Kindly help our growth by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you.